So, Danny Kruger MP was torn to shreds this week after he suggested at a Conservative conference that parents should stay together for the sake of the family and that the normative family, i.e. a family consisting of two parents, is the only basis for a safe and functioning society. So, let's have a look at what he had to say and you can judge.
A normative family, held together by marriage, by mother and father sticking together for the sake of the children, and the sake of their own parents and the sake of themselves, this is the only possible basis for a safe and successful society.
So, there you go. According to Twitter, that was the most controversial, outrageous, far-right, bigoted thing that one could ever say. People pointed out that people suffer in abusive marriages and can be victims of domestic violence. Therefore, how dare Danny Kruger even suggest that people should stay together in partnerships for the sake of children and society? Firstly, although I don't know for sure, I can't be sure, I seriously doubt that Danny Kruger would argue that if you're beaten by your partner, you should stay with them regardless. And secondly, this doesn't take away from the broader point that we should be able to discuss the benefits of marriage without being accused of being far-right or in some way bigoted of people who choose other ways of living. Marriage is, by and large, the best way to raise children. There are statistics to show that. And saying strong families are good for society does not make you a nutcase. Of course, that's not to say that people should be shamed or ostracised for being single parents. Of course, they shouldn't. But at the same time, marriage should be something that is encouraged and celebrated. Let's see what the shamed and shameless former Health Secretary Matt Hancock had to say.
Huge applause there for Danny Kruger. Your reaction?
It is so offensive and it's so wrong. I mean, tell that to the King. You know, he doesn't have a normative family and he is absolutely a strong basis for society. I mean, to make the argument that if you're in an abusive marriage, you must stick together for the sake of the kids, otherwise you're somehow undermining society.
Right, vomitorious, I would say. As if we should be taking lectures from Mr. Hancock when it comes to family and marriage. Perhaps it's hardly surprising that a man who cheated on his wife and walked out on his children would find Kruger's speech so offensive. It is not controversial to say that having two parents is the optimal way to raise a family, just like how it's not controversial to say that it's most beneficial to be born with 2 feet, 2 eyes and 2 arms. There we go. That's my palaver. Sorted, done, finished. Anyone got anything to say?
Yeah. I mean, I think the truth is that actually those kind of attitudes, when they prevailed far more strongly, did lead to a lot of people, if they were, for example, a woman being abused by their husband, feeling that they would be letting down expectations. When you say that that is the way that things have to be, you get people who get into terrible pickles, whether they romantically fall out or something far more serious as abuse, and they can't do that. And then at the same time, Danny Kruger, Prue Leith's son, off Bake Off, for those who don't know, he has also voted against and argued against gay people being able to have same-sex marriages. So he believes in marriage for people like him, but not for people like me. I actually think marriage is a really useful institution, so why is he against it? Are you against that?
I'm just so taken aback, although I'm not shocked, I'm not surprised, really, that people seem to find it so offensive that someone would suggest that a mother and father is a beneficial way to live your life and to support children. Yes, there are other people who choose different ways of living and different ways of forming a family. But, Leo, don't you think it's just so ridiculous, this strong backlash?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised in 2023. Something that would just be a normal thing to say 20 years ago is suddenly the most outrageously offensive far-right thing. And, I mean, I don't agree with him on gay marriage. I mean, I think gay marriage should actually...
So many people voted against gay marriage, so he may have a different view now. We don't know. We don't know what he thinks.
I think gay marriage should actually be mandatory for you, Benjamin. I think it should be a punishment for you. But
what, do you mean a punishment for his potential partner, or for
that argument
Benjamin
doesn't
himself?
make any sense. There's a reason nobody calls you Leo cursive, because that's completely broken up.
How many of these did you make up, Benjamin?
That was the fourth and final.
Did you pay somebody on Fiverr for these?
You're going to get rude after that one, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a baby. I'm raising the baby with my wife, just like just like Hitler would do. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's ridiculous that, you know, just having a baby and staying in a marriage can be seen as far right. I mean, I'm definitely going to stand by.
And the reason why I say it can be seen as far right is because I'm not going to name any names, but I was accused of having views that belonged in 1930s and for being far right for saying that family is a good basis for a society to function.
Yes, that's what you said, and it was wrong of the person to call you a Nazi for that. But that's
well,
not
they didn't use the word Nazi. To be
that's not what Danny Kruger said. What Danny Kruger said was that a normative family is the only possible basis for a safe and functioning society. Only possible basis for a safe and functioning society. That is what is offensive, because there are hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of people in this country who do not come from...
But as a basis,
Can I finish my point?
As a basis.
Can I finish my point? Who do not come from normative families, and to say that the only possible basis for a safe and functioning society is that you have the privilege of having two parents who are married, who stayed together, a privilege that I didn't have, that I wish I did have, is offensive. And actually, I think if the Conservatives want to package up 20th century social conservatism and sell it in the 21st century, it's not going to do very well in the ballot box.
Because you said that you wish not to go into your personal, you know, background too much, but you did just say, I would have preferred to have had two married parents. Isn't that what he's saying, that it is the optimal thing?
He said only possible basis.
Basis, i.e., something to build upon, a society to build upon, the majority of people hopefully having that kind of, you know, way of living. Is that a really, really controversial thing to say?
You just agreed with him, Alvin.
You know, do I sound bigoted by saying that?
I did not.
You did. You said I'd prefer to have had...
Of course it would have been my preference to have had my parents stay together. But clearly it's not the only possible basis to have a safe and functioning society, because here I am, functioning fine.
We know, and people have looked into this many times.
Viewers will judge that.
We know that, unfortunately, children from broken families are more likely to do worse at school and end up in crime. And this is not something that, you know, means to say that every child who's from a broken family is going to end up that way. Of course not. But I think we should be encouraging people to stay together.
So it's not the only possible basis, is it?
But it is the best basis. It is the best foundation.
But is it the only possible?
But of course, it's not the only possible basis.
Which is why I disagree with
him. I'm reacting. That's fine. You disagree with Danny Kruger. That's fine. But I am reacting more to the ridiculous overreaction to his comments and the idea that family is something that we shouldn't, you know, talk about positively.
Does it make Emily far right, Albie?
No, I think that's a nonsense comment. But equally, I think it's completely reasonable for people to be offended by someone saying the only possible basis for a safe and functioning society are men and women to get married and have children.
I wonder if
it'll be 10 years since the Tories passed same-sex marriage, and I think it's disgusting that a Conservative MP is saying this in 2023.
I mean, first of all, I think we look like a dysfunctional family.